She joined in after the Quiltathon in 2008. And she's taken 32 workshops. She's the workshop queen. And, you know, she does something when she's in her wheelchair down there. She does something that's really fun. She says, so we're all going to say, hello, Rhonda. Let's do it again. Hello, Rhonda.
Thank you. That's my line, Diana. Hello, Santa Rosa Quilt Guild. Hello, Rhonda. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I love show and tell, and I demand attention, no talking. Thank you. Tawny, raise your hand. My oldest child, Tawny, 33 years old, when she was a teenager, she told me I was demanding. Now you all know I am demanding. I demand attention. All right. Well, I want to start in history over here at the end of the table, and Janelle is going to help with that. I want to tell you that I fell in love with sewing when I was pregnant with Tawny, and I'll tell you the little foo-foo thing I made. But my stepmom made this quilt for Tawny, and I managed to keep my hands on it, and I think it's really sweet. My stepmom was a wonderful woman who just had an extremely big heart for my kids, and the ladies are talking. So anyway, my stepmother Pauline made this for Tawny, and I love it. I kept it, and she gets it one day. The next quilt you'll see is the quilt that I made for Tawny. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Look at how terrible it is. Isn't it awful? That was 1980, and oh my gosh, look, it has little stains on it too. My stepmother, Pauline, she provided the materials for me. Tawny's dad, Lee, raise your hand. Woo! Lee's in the house. Lee joined the Marine Corps, and I went to live with my dad and my stepmom while Lee was doing his basic training, and she let me use her Viking and her Pfaff as much as I wanted, and she provided me with all the materials, and when Tawny was such a good baby, she would let me sew all the time. So there was that. And then the next little piece is the first hand quilting piece I did in '87. It's just a little handwork I did. So anyway, that's good. The next piece is a twist, a fresh twist on the piece that's right behind it. These were velvets I've been collecting. Some came from the back table where we have materials. A person can grab what they want and put a donation in the jar. It's a velvet diamond diagonal, and I am a big fat copycat from my grandmother, who kept us in quilts my entire life until she passed away. And that piece is on deck right now, ready to show. Yes, my granny, her name was Novella. She quilted for the poor and the needy, and she must have made thousands of quilts over her lifetime. All of my kids had these quilts. This is the last one remaining, and I absolutely love it. I hope I have it forever. And Matthew, raise your hand. Matthew, you remember loving this blanket and carrying it around? Okay, very good. Matthew is my second born. And then this really pretty piece, my girlfriend Diana asked me to make for her mom, and I made that in 2001, I think. And I sent it recently to our affiliate, Country Mouse Quilters. It was already finished and they weren't really quite sure how to quilt it, so they just put this little motif in, and I like what they did. I think it works. So this quilt belongs to my girlfriend Diana, and she's not with us anymore, so I'm going to keep it until somebody says I have to give it to one of her kids. And then there were some quilt blocks, some unfinished quilt blocks that look really ratty. No? All right, well, we'll come to those later. This is leftover heart blocks from the Friendship Block program. And being the big copycat that I am, I copied Sharon the librarian, Fry, her Valentine. I think it's really sweet. Don't you, Rebecca? Yes, my girl Rebecca. So, beautiful. Love it. Can't wait to get home and put it on a wall. Also from the Friendship Block program. I know. It's too awesome. So, when I did the Friendship Block program, when I chaired it, oh, it's gorgeous. When I chaired it, I put my first Friendship Block in to be made, and I did something really kind of weird, kind of funky, kind of strange. I did 20 of my favorite things. So I'm going to try to remember what those favorite things are because I cannot find my list. So the top right is me. Oh, thank you. I am a genius on top of everything else. Okay, thank you. Donna Marvin made the top right, and it's yellow light. I used to love taking naps at my godparents'. They had crystals on a lamp, and the afternoon sun would come through the window and beam off the crystals, and I was just bathed in yellow light and rainbows, and it was the best napping spot on the planet. Next is Queen Mom, and the saying was, a peridot, a diamond, an emerald, and a peridot. These are my favorite things, and those just happen to be the birthstones of my kids. So, and because I am demanding, we have a little crown here. And one thing that I do occasionally with my community quilts, and in this particular case, is I've quilted my favorite prayers around the border of these quilts. And then this one here in the middle, Linda Zemer started this. This is one of my favorite things, and that's about my ladies. My ladies are a bouquet of flowers. And so she started it. Linda Zemer, where are you? Woo! Linda Zemer. And do you recognize it?
Flowers.
Yeah, it's. I went nuts because all my ladies are different varieties of people, and they all bring something lovely to the table. And then following along, Linda Hooper. Linda's filming me right now. The saying was, "Diamonds on black velvet on me." And that's what she did with it. I mean, these ladies only got those clues. That's all they got was these little clues, and they put these things together. And then finally, Carol Jarvis. It wasn't part of the program, the Friendship Block program, but I spied these two little old ladies going shopping for fabric. And I'm like, if I get old, I hope I'm still shopping for fabric. So, Twilight Sewing. So Carol Jarvis, thank you so much. And I hope that you ladies will come take a look at it because there's a lot of detail to be seen. Okie dokie, thank you. Next. No, those aren't ready. Yeah, let's go ahead. Also, this is also part of the Friendship Block program, and this theme was called Cats. And so I haven't put it together yet, but I wanted to give you a little sample of some of the cats I've been showing. My ladies, I want these people over here to see them too. This side. Sure. I know. Okay, so at the very top, there's a little face of a kitty, and it's just his face, and that's Mr. Micah Bell. And doesn't it look like Micah Bell? And he's in the Sunny Garden now, but that was my Nancy Brown class. That was the very first class I took, Nancy Brown applique class. And then there are also a few of my favorite things on this quilt. Phyllis made the 9-point star. Valeska made Rusty Kitty down there. Sharon the librarian made the kitties with cat wings. It's called Cat Wings. I miss my sweetie cats. They're all in the Sunny Garden now. So one day next year, I'm going to put that together, and it will be beautiful. Thank you. Friendship Block program, I highly recommend it. So the last few you've seen, Friendship program, and the Friendship program works where you have to put 3 friendship blocks in the bank, and once you've put 3 friendship blocks in the bank, you can request your own friendship block. This was a challenge. Linda Hooper and I did a challenge in, I believe it was 2011, and this challenge was postage stamps. This is my Halloween number, Love the Gatos, and Ondero is holding the postage stamp that is the love stamp. And my granny, you saw the squares on the diagonal. She made 2 award-winning quilts in her lifetime, and one of them was a love stamp quilt, and she hand embroidered all the love stamps over a certain number of years, and her house burned down, and with that, her quilts. So this was kind of a little homage to Granny and the love stamp. So that's Friendship Block. Challenge, that was challenge. This was the first challenge. This is a baby diaper. It's a cloth baby diaper. The challenge was Vote 2008. And I was thinking about the future, and I thought, what would be better for the planet than cloth diapers? Because we all know how the landfills are filling up with disposables. I didn't understand the guild very much back then. I didn't realize that we were making quilt-related items. So we did the diaper, and I also did a little t-shirt that I can't find, so I must have given it away, but it said Vote 2008, which is really sweet. Oh, this was a challenge. Phyllis managed this challenge, and it was based on color. Pick a color and mix it with black, gray, and white, and see what you get out of it. Well, my daughter-in-law, Kelly, who's not here today, she must be working. All right. She did an art piece for her schoolwork, and I copied it, because I'm a big copycat. This year's challenge was aprons, and I love aprons. I wear them often, and I wanted to share a piece of my apron collection. This one came from here, actually. This one came from Janet Shore. Janet Shore, I love this apron. It's beautiful. It's Japanese. Is that right? Okay, Japanese. Okay, that's one apron. Next. This was found at a garage sale. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't that sweet? So usually that is hanging on a hanger in a kitchen shelf scenario. I love it. And then this one, my friend Joe brought back from, was it Tibet, Pat? Pat's Tibet? This is an authentic Tibetan apron, and I guess they kind of use it and they tie a string around themselves to hold it up. And I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. And he also gave me photographs to go with it of the women wearing the aprons. And when we come back over here in workshops is this year's apron project. that I cut up and put in an attic window, but I will remind you that it was an apron panel before it was an attic window. We've moved on to TSWs. TSWs are technique sharing workshops, and Carol Lemonade, Lady Lemonade, she did a doohickey on pot holders. This is a pot holder, a folded fabric pot holder. And because I like to be the A student, I made 4 pot holders and stuck them together in this little wall hanging. And I call this piece Licorice Stars. I really like licorice, and it just seemed to work beautifully. So thank you so much for that, TSW, Carol.
Could I request something?
Sure.
Just show and tell, just move over a little bit. We can't see anything.
Okay. This is a TSW that I taught. Actually, there are 3 TSWs right there that I taught. This one was this year, and it was the Closet Caddy. It was just a funky little thing where you put lots of pockets and you can hide things or not hide things or use them however you want. And then there's a little knot dolly in there. See the knot dolly? That was the first TSW that I taught. They're little chewing toys, or they look adorable as a bow on a gift. And I saw them in a catalog, and yes, being a big copycat, I traced it out, tried to duplicate the material, and think they're wonderful. And then also in one of those pockets is a little tiny frame, a frame, there you go. It's Let's Embellish. And I do believe that Elena here is wearing the doohickey she made for her chatelaine in the Let's Embellish TSW that I taught. Taught is a big word, but anywho, those are the TSWs I've participated in. And next on deck is the Block of the Month. This I co-chaired with Barbara Corderlew and Linda Zemer and where are you? Joyce Wood, thank you so much. It was called Almost Amish. Also this year, I participated in the UFO Challenge, and the UFO Challenge is unfinished objects. And my blocks had been sitting in a drawer for several years. When I joined the challenge, I put 5 bones in the bucket, and when you finish a challenge in a designated time period, you get your 5 bones back. So that's Almost Amish. This is a masterpiece. This is my neighborhood, and this was also the Block of the Month that I co-chaired with Barbara Corderlew and Linda Zemer. And we took turns designing houses and or trees, and we put them together. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with all mine, so I asked my daughter-in-law to help me, and I thought, I want my pieces to go from sunshine to nighttime, and I want each festivity during the year to be highlighted. So there is a Halloween house, a Valentine house, Matt and Kelly's wedding, Christmas, and people who gave me things that I put on this quilt have been notated on the back. And that's called Providence. Providence was one of the very first things I learned when coming to this guild. I think it's fabulous, and love it. It took a red ribbon at the fair. It took a red ribbon at the fair. This is a beautiful piece that my girlfriend Rebecca asked me to make for her daughter as a wedding present. Her daughter got married in New York, and the theme of the wedding was Central Park in the fall. Rebecca provided me with 3 photographs. There was a photograph of her sitting near bedrock. There was a photograph of Brooke beyond the fence, buried in leaves, taking photographs of the leaves. And there was a photograph of the Broadway, which is the brick walk. So with those 3 photographs, I did that. Oh, and there's something even more wonderful inside of it. Brooke's husband, Luke, had the wedding ring designed. And the wedding ring is a tree with some jewels around the root system. So I took some jewels and buried them in the roots of one of the trees. Oh. So, Elaine, where are you? This is one of the photographs, or one of the pictures, okay. So, isn't it lovely? The leaf idea came from a workshop project that I will bring up a little bit later. Now, this idea arrived from my neighborhood quilt. And this is also Rebecca's. Rebecca and her husband Lou have been all around the world, and she's a fabulous photographer. And one of the things she photographs wherever she goes on the planet is laundry. People do laundry all over the world. It's a common theme. So again, she shared some photographs, and I took the photographs that I loved and incorporated them into this laundry situation. With many of the fabrics that she has acquired in her travels. So I hope that you get a chance to see some of the detail. If not, please pay attention to the photograph because it is spectacular. Thank you. You've seen this at the fair. This is my dear Jane in black velvet. I joined a mini group in 2009 with 5 elite ladies in this group. I was the newbie. I didn't know what I was doing, but we had a lot of encouragement and education. In the original Jane A. Stickle quilt from 1863, that's 5,602 pieces, I believe, her blocks are 4.5 inches. The size of the blocks that we decided to use were 6.5 inches. I decided to do brights on the black velvet. I like the way it looks. I took my blocks with me to visit my dad in Kansas, and I embellished them while I was there. And I love the quilt, but it's not right. And every time I look at it, I think I'm going to take it apart, unsew it, and put it back together. But then there's a part of me that says it should stay original because it's part of the level of work I had at that time. And so it's a little wonky, it's a little weird, and I didn't like it, so I opened up the back and stuffed more fluff in to give it more of a puffy look. And like I said, that one took, or if I didn't say, that one took a second. A red ribbon at the fair as well. Okay, so this is more traditional Dear Jane. The original Dear Jane has 13 rows by 13 rows of blocks. We only did a set number of blocks. I gave this to my brother Randy and his wife Jane. I had never made them a quilt. And I told Randy back in February that this shindig was coming up and that I would like very much to show and tell this quilt. Well, he's like, what quilt? I'm like, you remember, it's heavily bejeweled. I worked on it while I was with you and Dad. It's 1863 Civil War era prints. It has lace on it, and he's like, no, not ringing any bells. So I thought, well, you know what, something terrible, they must have used it to clean the gouache floor. Something terrible must have happened to it. And I started becoming relentless. I started being a pest, asking him to go look for it, and he would recognize it when he saw it. And then I ended up bribing him. I will send you cash if you send me that quilt. And he finally found it. And you know what? It did have a problem. It did have a problem. His wife had gotten ill and there was blood all over it. And so that's why he didn't want me to get it back. I think he was a little maybe embarrassed or something. So he doesn't get it back. I'm not going to give it to him. Not going to give it to him. This is a piece I got from Janet Shore. Do you remember this, Janet? You do recognize it. We recently had a sewing room sale. Once a year, Guild members get to have a sale of essentially anything they want. It could be garage sale, it can be sewing supplies. And in this case, Janet had this for sale in a baggie. Approximately half of the blocks were made, and the other half were part made. And I thought, why in the world would somebody not finish this when they're so close? So I assembled several, actually I assembled all the blocks, and then a portion of the blocks, I think I put 4 or 8 rows together, and I thought, wow, this is not right. I was not expecting this. I was not expecting it to look like this. I was expecting something else. And I started looking at it more closely, and I realized that half the blocks were sewn backwards. They were sewn backwards, and I thought that might have something to do with the reason why it wasn't completed in the first place. And I could tell that it had been unsewn. So I unsewed it again and put it back together, and I love it now, and I love it, Janet, so very much. It's going to look wonderful next to my other Amish stuff. Juanita Campbell made this piece, and she gave it to her neighbor Lois. Lois was the mother of my good friend Diana, and when Diana passed away this year, I got her sewing supplies and a few other things, including this piece from Juanita Campbell, and I count it a treasure. And it also goes with the little one that I did, the little heart number that I quilted back in the 80s. So Rebecca brought these, are they moles? Molas back from Panama. She brought several. Her sister got one, I think. Did your mom get one too, Rebecca? And I framed them, and I love them. I think they're fabulous, and I can't wait to see where I put them in my new digs. New digs. This was also given to me. This was given to me by Shirley. Shirley, you gave me this. Do you remember giving me this? Okay, is there another Shirley in the house that gave me this? It's a crazy quilt. I've always wanted a crazy quilt, wanted to make a crazy quilt, and now I have several of them. They've all been given to me. I had a plan once upon a time that all I had to do was make 1 block a month. That's all I had to do, 1 block a month, and I have yet to do it. Here is another one. I got this one from Sharon Fry, the librarian, and it is made out of polyesters. It's perfectly awful, but lovely just the same. Lovely just the same. What?
I did not make it.
Okay.
It was given to me by
Blanche.
And it came to the auction table.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then it went to you.
Yes. I got to the auction table first, I guess is what happened. Thank you for clarifying that, Sharon. I guess your hands have never touched polyester. The first year I joined the Santa Rosa Quilt Guild, or in 2009, Sharon was in charge of the Opportunity Quilt, and it was made out of silk ties. The name of the quilt was called Family Ties, and I was invited to work on that quilt, and from that I made this one. It's foundation pieced, and I love how it looks old and ratty. One of the reasons it looks old and ratty is because I spilled a full glass of wine on it, red wine. Full glass, It was one of those beautiful Riedel glasses that doesn't have a stem, and it just rolled out of my hand and right down my leg, and I was working on it. And so it got the bulk of the wine. Does anybody remember this opportunity quilt? This was the first year. Nope, it wasn't. Linda Hooper, when were you president?
'09.
'09, okay. In '09, this was one of 2 raffled opportunity quilts. The Thursday before we were to raffle, I took my tickets to the dinner table and I passed the tickets around the dinner table, and each of the kids got some tickets and signed their name on them, and my daughter Jackie won the flippin' quilt. And I'm like, those were my tickets. So, anyway, I purchased it from her recently. I noticed she had sent a photograph of the kids, and the photograph was taken in a place where that quilt had been hanging. And I thought, well, if she's not using it, I'll offer her some money. And she was happy to take the money, and I'm happy to have the quilt. Now we've moved into workshops. I've taken 32 workshops over the course of my time here, the 5.5 years I've been here. Wilma and Betty did this miniature log cabin. It's called Barn Raising. I love it. It's fabulous, Betty. That was a wonderful class. And this is where we learned quilt as you go. Quilt as you go. Turn it around, Janelle, please. Quilt as you go. This one is a workshop that the Moonlight Quilters put on. It's called My Favorite Chair. And I think this is my favorite chair. Oh my gosh. Don't tell me her name. Alethea Ballard. She's going to be our teacher next November. Her workshop is wonderful. She's a kick in the pants. And this particular pattern comes with 5 other chairs and in a mini format as well. If you don't want to make the big chair, you can make the mini. And look, her name's on the back. That Providence thing keeps poking up. This is one of Rebecca's quilts. This was a workshop. This was Laurel Anderson. It was at the beginning of this year. I did not pay attention because I don't pay attention to some things like directions. And the pattern was called A Whisper of Spring. I showed up with vibrants that are, I don't know, maybe they are spring, I don't know, but I'm like, why do I copy other people's stuff? Why don't I do my own stuff? And so this was when I decided I'm not necessarily gonna use other people's patterns anymore. I might take an idea from their patterns, but I need to make it my own. So this is Lynn Mann's workshop. I love her work. She puts scientific words like concave and convex into simple terms that I can understand, like pi's and l's. So it was so much easier for me if I didn't have to try to remember what's concave, what's convex. I can handle a pi, I can handle an L. This has a funny story with it. Walking out the door, I fill my coffee mug, my traveling coffee mug with coffee, and when we get to the workshop, I reach into my bag to unpack it, and my coffee cup is empty, and my fabrics are now coffee dyed. Yep, thank you. This was Marianne Kerfluffle. She's a foreign lady. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I say Kerfluffle. I did not use her pattern. I decided to do my own thing, and it's celestial. It has 2 rod pockets. There is no up, there is no down. You can hang it any way you want, and this took us second at this year's fair, I believe. Isn't it pretty?